Welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to discuss about GCP deny policies, and also I'm going to show in a demo like how you can configure the deny policies via the console as well as like by using the gcloud command. And by using the Terraform code, I'll show in a next video how you can do it in the Terraform code. So in our previous video, we were discussed about like what are the types of GCP IAM roles, like basic roles, predefined roles, and custom roles, and in which scenario we need to use these roles, and what are the roles we should not use it, and how you can attach this role to the any principles like a user account, service account, and Google groups also, right? But we were not discussed about like how you can restrict some permission to the principles. So and also how you can restrict at the org level or project level, and only to allow certain principles to get, to use this permission. So all these things we are going to discuss in this demo. So before getting started, please go and watch my previous video. What are the types of roles and how you can do that role binding by manually as well as Terraform code, so that it will really helpful for you to understand this concept. Starting with the deny policies, like it is like give you that flexibility to set the guardrails on access of Google Cloud resource. So by using the deny policy, you can have the in policy you can have a multiple deny rules, so that you can prevent certain principle from using certain permissions. So in previous video we discussed about like what is roles and what is permission, right? If you see this video, like you will understand what a permission we are talking about. So we in this deny policies we are not able to restrict roles, we can able to restrict permissions only. So that's what I said, like you can restrict certain principles, like in organization we find out, for example, in organization you find out like say a list of principles, list of permission which should be restricted. So this permissions are giving some high level access to you users. So there's access which already presented in basic roles or predefined roles. Like in custom roles also, it's some users are using it, some principals are using it. But if you want to restrict this access, means instead of this basic role and predefined roles, you need to go and create a custom roles. But if there will be more than 100 team or 200 teams are working in different projects, it's very not a feasible way to create a custom role for each individual to get the access in GCP. But the GCP given some flexibility, like even though they do have that kind of roles, you can restrict that certain permission. So even though in that role present that access also, that permission will be restricted from the principal. I'll give you one more example. In most of the organization, the network and firewall will be managed by some dedicated team, right? Because organization will not give that access to the network firewall to anyone apart from that some dedicated team. Suppose some rules are providing that kind of permission to the user, even though like they're not required, but it's come with some predefined rules, or it already presented with basic rules, right? So basically we are not followed saying that basic rules, but it comes with the predefined rules, means how we can handle this kind of thing, because they not require that access even though they do have it. But from the organization standpoint, we need to, even though they have it, we need to restrict that permissions, right? So for that reason, we can enforce this deny policies at org level, and you can restrict all the principles. It may be a user account or service account or groups also, and only you can allow the certain principles, like if any Terraform they the networking or firewall team are using to provisioning, that principles you can allow it, or they need manual access to do the troubleshoot, or any, or want to do anything manually, they are provisioning it. So you can provide exception this kind of accounts, so that only apart from this network and firewall team, other members will not have access to that permission even though they do have that permission in that role. I guess like you will understand in this example. So we can see in this document what they were saying it, and then I'll go in a console and we'll do the lab. How deny policies work. So deny policies, how it work means when you create a deny policy, you can create a multiple deny rule. So in the deny rule, you have to first you need to come up with a plan, like what are the principle we need to restrict, and I mean, how are you going to approach this? I'm talking about what are the principle you're going to restrict, and what are the permission you're going to restrict, and what are the exception that what are the exception principle we need to add it here, and what are the exception permission. So for example, when you so when there is a when you're denying permission, so there will be group of permission it has denied. Inside the group of permission, how you can uh, I mean accept certain permission from that group. So that permission you can add it in the denial exception permission, I mean exception permission, and also you can go with a condition. So in condition, so if you write a condition, so the condition is to be met, then only that policy should be enforced. Otherwise, the policy should not be applied to the resource, right? So that organization flexibility, this option also we have. There is a optional, but it's not a required. So how that policies work means, when you assign this policy at org level, so only you can assign this policy like a org level or folder level or project level. So once if you assign that policy at the org level, right, so what happened, like once a policy has been enforced, what are the child resource in below it, like a folder or project, will be affected by this deny policies. Let's say an example. You assign this policy at the org level, right? So what are the resource under that organization will be impact from this delay policies. So what happened, like in project, I mean, if you enforce a policy at org level, but in a project level, you are given some high level permission to the principals. Even though what will happen, like that IAM always check that first relevant deny policies first before checking that allow policy. Even they have that high permission, if they have the denied permission at the high level, it gets rejected. So this is a one important point here. And second thing, like you can attach this already discussed, you can attach this permission to a project or folder or organization. In each resource, you can create up to 500 deny policies as per the video recording time. I guess like it may be in future chance it get increased. So you can see here in attaching point, so where you can attach this, like, so when you are doing it in a manually, so there will be not needed the steps, but when you're going with the Terraform code or gcloud command, you need to understand this attach point format. So if you're going to attach, it means we need to use that cloud resource manager .googleaps.com followed with organization, followed with your organization ID. So if we are going to enforce this policy at a folder level, you need to give the folders and folder same like project. And this is a policy deny policy inheritance. So basically we discussed, like if it is at org level it enforced, so it will enforce to that all the child resource included. And the conditions here, like the conditions this is optional. If organization want to write a condition to check certain tags, then only the policy should be enforced, means they can use it, otherwise it's not required. And permission group, so permission group, like a some service let you deny permission group. So instead of you can restricted individual permission, like a create, a delete, a mod, I mean or update, or you set target like that. Instead of that, you can restrict that service level or resource level, or you can restrict at the each permission like verb level also. You can see it here, right, from this. So this is the pattern which is followed here. So like first it will comes with the SQT, I mean service for FQTN, followed by resource, and it followed by verb. So if there is a like a that service and followed by resource, if you take like a service account keys, in IAM we do have a service account keys as a resource, or service account also it's a resource, right? And it followed by what action, like a create or update or enable or disable get list. So the after that resource, what are the permissions, like action verb is coming in, you can group together and you can restrict it. So for better explain, I can go to this document. So in this document you can see it here, right? So this is the IAM googleaps.com is a service FQDN name, and next to this resource like service account keys, right? And then verb. So what you can basically do, like we will go and write restrict each permission. Okay, instead of it, like I mean you can see here how many permissions are there, like create, delete, disable, enable, get list. So you want to write like a 6 permission to get I mean you want to restrict it. Instead of it, why can't you use a single line permission to restrict that resource level permission. So if you see it, instead of all the things, you can write it like IAM Google APIs.com followed by service account and wildcard character. So what are the things are coming next to the service account is it get restricted. So this is like a group of permissions together. You can group with the resource, or you can group with the service level, or you can group with the resource level with the certain verbs. Structure of deny policy. So in structure of deny policy is a collection of metadata and deny rules. So basically, when you're creating a deny policy in a manual way, it would be totally different. But when you're going to create in a gcloud command, right? For that, you need to have that JSON format file. In that format file, you need to define that policy with the rule, so that you can attach the policy in a gcloud command to create the policy to the to attach the policy to the project or folder or organization. So once you created, these are the values will be presented in a policy. So I'll just explain what is there, and when you created this, all the details are not required. For understanding purpose, we are creating it. I'm just going through it. So metadata. The first thing, like if you see it here, right, name. First, you need to given the proper name of the deny policies, and UID it will be generated. And kind, when you're using the gcloud command, also you get to know that that attribute kind equal to deny policy. It will be mandated when you're creating a deny policy. And display name, what name you are giving to that deny rule. So you can see it from the documentation, only project admin can delete projects. Okay, so apart from, I guess, like based on this name itself, I can say like they are going to remove what are the permission allowing, what are the permission will allow the principal to delete. So they were going to restrict it. So e tag value. So the e tag value is important thing when you updating that principle, updating that deny policy using a gcloud command. So what happened, like whenever you making some changes or updating some changes, the e tag value will keep on changing. So what you can do is, right, first you need to use a get command to retrieve the metadata and the rules of that particular policy, and you need to store it in a separate file. And from that, you need to copy the e tag value and place it to the current file you are working on it, and then you need to update using the gcloud. Then only what happened, this e tag value, what e tag value you having in a file, it should be matched with the GCP e tag value of the particular resource. Then only it get updated. Otherwise, like you will get failed. To avoid this conflict things, they want to validate these changes and create a time when that policy has been created, and updated when the policy later is updated. So rules, inside the rules we do have like a certain rules. You can say deny rule, and you can say certain values we need to pass it. Denied principles, it's a mandatory what principle you want to deny. Here they were denying all the principle. So I'll just give you why instead of restricting one by one, why you're using all. So if say like in organization we do have like 100 users, 100 service account and 100 groups. Just giving an example, I guess I know that it be more than that, but you want to restrict each one of them. What you need to add all of them one by one in order to restrict. Instead of that, if you use this principal state group followed by public dot all, means it will restrict all the IAM members regardless of user account, service account dot groups. It will restrict all. And second thing here, exception principle. So what principle you want to do? So you first one, you restricted it. From that exception, what principle you want to restrict? So for example, they are like they only a project admin are going to delete the projects, right? So they will allow only the project admin in exception. So you can see here, right, just project admin.example.com, they given some principle they're going to, it may be like a group, or you can restrict user, or you're going to restrict service account. Here like based on that name, you can see group, they are providing exception. And denied permission, as I say, like what permission allow them to delete. So here like a project delete only, it will allow them to delete, or the folder full admin access will also, then because of under the folder only the project will be there, right? If in some cases, so if you restrict that folder or full admin access, means they will not delete the project. So you first you need to understand, this is like our requirement, we need to understand what are the permissions we need to restrict. And second thing, in that exception permission, so once you can see you were grouping this permission, what are the I mean, verb is coming next to the folders, right? You are restricting all them, but user want to view what are the folders, right? So for that you can see it, right? You want to, from that group permission, you want to exception permission you have to give for list and git. So what happened, even though you denied this permission, you added the exception with this two permission will be exception and condition. Here the condition you need to write just that a resource should match the tag like this is like a key id and with the environment tag, and that value should be matched, then only it should be a bit and not equal to, and it should not match, then only it should, I mean, if it is true it will enforce the policy, if it is false the policy will not be added to the resource level. So this is all about that metadata. I explained it. So they also given the details. I'll attach in a description. You can just go through it. Common use case, like we discussed in a very first example, like centralized administrative privilege. Okay, so what are the centralized? Here they have given like a manage the custom roles. So they want to, I mean, just for easy example, they given like to manage custom roles. There will be only centralized team. Now no other team should not have, because it's very important, because in manage roles you can just create like you can just creating a custom role with all the I permission, means it's very risky, right? So they want to restrict the custom role admin also. For that you can see it, right? This is the JSON file you need to create it. Okay, this is the format which we will follow. I'm going to create exact thing only. So here like I'm just going to restrict all, and here like they are allowing group. In our case, like we are going to allow the user and my user account, and the deny permission, I mean the deny permission, all the permission only I can able to list or give, that's it. Okay, so from that once you attach this policy, right, so you can attach the org level, so all the user exception principal and permission, that's it. So this is one more example, it's very important here. So if someone is having like I mean, there will be two users, right? Yuri at example.com and Tal at example.com. Both of them are having organization role administrator. You know that organization role administrator is like a very highest role, so they do have it. So if you deny, you use the deny access to, I mean, here what we're doing, we are denying the principal all, only you're allowing that custom role groups, right? Admin groups, other than like, so even though I do have that organization role administrator, if I'm not part of that custom role member, right, my act, I can't able to manage that roles. So you can see the first example that Yuri having the organization as well as he is part of custom role, so then only they can able to manage IAM custom role. If the second example, Tal is part of only organization role administrator, but he is not part of the custom group, right? So that he can't able to manage that custom roles. So I guess like I've explained more, so we'll start with the lab here.